welcome back to another session. This is session number 8, and we're going to be discussing Trajan's triangle. This technique is proprietary to geometric trading, but the roots of it originate with materials published by Michael Jenkins. Got to give credit where credit is due. The technique focuses on the relationship between X and B, and what this does is helps us identify the D point, and that's what we're trying to do here, right? So let's have a closer look at Trajan's triangle. All right, so as I mentioned, the relationship between X and B is significant. And when you think about it, we know that X in this example is a support level and B is a support level. So we're used to drawing trend lines, and in this case what we're going to be doing is drawing kind of a trend line from X to B. Often this line, when we draw it after the chart's been scaled, this line will often line up with one of the angles in the Beck's emblem. Notice that this line I've just drawn here from X to B is 70 degrees. We're going to be revisiting that angle number here in a second, but what we want to do is draw another line based on a fraction of the degrees here at 70 degrees. Now we can call this a 50% angle if you wish, because what we need to do is we take that 70 and we divide it by 2 and come up with a number, and as you probably know already, that's going to give us 35. So the first thing we do is draw the XB line, and with that information, once we determine the number of degrees, we can draw a second line, and we'll call that the XD line. Notice here that it says 35 degrees, 50% of the original XB line. So the XD line, we check that to make sure that it lands close to the angle generated by the emblem and confirms our existing analysis. So if we're looking for a bullish 52, we want this XD line to be landing closer to that line than any of the other lines or angles within the emblem. If it does, if it confirms your analysis, then you can go ahead and move on with this filter. And this is just one of the many filters that we're discussing in this course here. Now we get to be a bit more specific. The next line we're going to draw gives us a specific point in price and time where we expect a reversal. So once we've confirmed that the XD line confirms our existing angle, like a bullish 52, now we can draw a new line. Now this new line originates at B, and it's going to come down and intersect with our XD line. So to calculate this new line from B, we need to determine what our 50% number was here. It was 35 degrees, right? Now to draw a line down from B, we're going to have to subtract this number here from 360. Okay, so we take 360 minus 35, and that gives us 325. So draw a trend line from B. Make sure that the trend line has your degrees displayed when you put the line down, and make sure that that line is 360 minus this number here. And this is going to change when we're looking at bearish examples, but to keep it simple, we're looking at a bullish one here. So notice how the BD line intersects with the XD line right here, and this is the specific point in price and time that we expect a reversal to take place at. Notice also that this is a triangle, thus the name Trajan's triangle. So the tip of this triangle right here is what we're looking for, and this can be used as a filter for our existing course setup. So let's just review. What we need to do first is identify the XB, and of course we're going to do that after we've scaled our charts. We're going to determine 50% of the XB, so whatever degrees this shows on the trend line that you draw. Determine half of that. In this case, it gives us 35. Once we have that calculation, we can draw the XD line. After we're finished with the XD, we see if that line confirms our existing core trade setup, whether it lines up with a 52 or some other angle on the emblem. And if it does, then we can go ahead and draw the BD line. Remember, subtract this number of the XD line, that number of degrees from 360 on this bullish example, and that gave us 325. Draw the line, gives you the triangle. Tip the triangle, we expect the D point to happen here. And remember, as we did with the other analysis techniques, make sure if you're using this in your trading plan that this tip of the triangle is within tolerance. Remember, we set a level of tolerance. Maybe it's 20% of our core trade setup. The tip of the quad is going to give you a specific point in price and time on the angle of the emblem, and if this tip of the Trajan's triangle is too far away, you're going to disregard this this technique, and you're not going to use it. But if it is within that tolerance level that you set in your trading plan, you're good to go. So we covered off how to calculate the BD angle from the bullish perspective. We have that on the left side of the screen, the calculation to do that. On the right side of the screen, we show you how to calculate the BD angle from the bearish perspective. So first off, determine the XB angle, and then it gets a little bit more complicated because what we need to do is we're going to take that number and subtract it from 360. Divide that by 2 and add that to the existing XB number that you came up with to begin with, and that will give you your XD line. To determine the BD line, it's a little bit more simple. 360 minus the XB divided by 2. So I needed to show you that if you want to calculate things manually. There is an easier way to do it. There's an automatic tool for calculating the Trajan's triangle in Market Analyst, and I'll show you that in a minute here. But let's have a look at a chart and see what the triangle looks like. All right, so here's an example using Marriott, and we got a bullish 52 potential here. We've done the scaling already. We've done our alternate quad. The tip of the quad's pointing to the 52. And so now we're going to draw Trajan's triangle. So remember, the first thing we need to do is draw a trend line from X to B. So let's do that first. Okay, our B point is identified by the quad here. And notice it says 40 degrees, 40.39. So the next line is going to be 50% of that. So it's going to be just over 20. So let's draw that trend line from here. And you notice as I move the line, it gives the degrees. So let's call it 2020. The other cool thing about this is under the properties of the trend line, you can go here and type in the quantity of degrees that you want. So let's just call it 2020, and we can type that in. Okay, so notice what it does there. And this line, this 50% line, it has to be on either side of the tip of this triangle here of the either side of the tetrad, tip of the tetrad, because it's either confirming 52 or 38. Which one is it going to be? Well, it's just slightly on this side, so it's going to go for the 52. It's confirming 52. Not as much as we'd like it to. We'd ideally like this line to land right on top of the 52 to confirm that, but this is okay. Just tells us that it's more likely that it's going to be the 52 than the 38. So we're going to use this for analysis and just show you how to do this with trend lines. There is an easier way to do this versus what I'm showing you right now, and I'll show you that in a minute. But now that we've confirmed the 52, it's time to draw the BD line. And do you remember how we do that? We're going to take 360 and subtract 2020 from it. So let's do that. That equation comes to 339.80. So let's draw another trend line here from B and draw it so that the degrees say 339.80. Once again, I can go in here, right click this, go into the properties, make sure that the angle is displayed, but we're just going to type in our angle here manually, 339.80. Okay, there it is. Now, there's our triangle right there. The tip of the Trajan triangle right here. We've done our analysis. We've got to make sure that that tip is close to the tip of the quad in regard to time analysis. It's only 2 days away, so this really does confirm it's within tolerance. If we're using 20%, it does confirm our analysis here for bullish 52. So that was a lot of steps to cover. That's how you do it manually. You can do it with a calculator and a protractor if you wish right on your screen, but there is an automatic easier way to do it, and I'll show you that on the next screen here. Here we're looking at ADP, and we have a bullish 52. Once again, the emblem and the quad are all locked up here. The scaling's done for us already. So we're expecting a reversal here, and you can see that's what happened. But now we're going to use the Trajan's triangle in a different way. There's an add-on module for Michael Jenkins that you can purchase through Market Analyst, and it involves this secret angle method that he uses. And if you go under Tools, go to Jenkins, and you'll see secret angle. As I mentioned, the work I've done here is based on his material. It's not using this technique exactly, but this tool here is useful if you want to speed up your analysis for the Trajan's triangle. So if you happen to have this module, this is what you can do, or you can purchase it if you're kind of lazy and don't want to do all that analysis like I showed you in the previous chart. So this is what you need to do. Do the secret angle and draw the line from X to B. Okay, and there's some properties that you're going to have to change in this to get it to display like this. So here's the different properties, and what you want to do is set these percentages to 50, 50, 50, 50. These levels, I've turned off all these levels to clean up the screen. Like I mentioned, it's not the same technical method that Jenkins uses. We're just making this really simple, the settings on his tool here, so that you can see the lines that I'm pointing at. So basically this triangle here that has been displayed is Trajan's triangle, and there's the intersection right there. This angle here confirms our 52. The BD line intersects right here. So just make sure it confirms your analysis with your core trade setup. So that's a handy little tool to have if you got it. Let's look at another example. Here's another ADP trade. This time we're looking at bearish trade setups. And so we got the screen all locked up here. Down in the bottom right corner, our time price ratio lock is in place. We got the quad on there, and now it's time to draw our triangle. I set up a dedicated button here that actually utilizes that Jenkins tool to make it easier for me. So I just click this button here, go to X, go to B, and this is a nice one because you notice how I mentioned that this 50% angle, if it's right on top of the 52, that's ideal. And that's what you see here. It's almost right on top. So that really confirms that 52 analysis. The tool has drawn our BD line for us. We see the intersection right here, not too far away from the tip of the quad. So that confirms our core trade setup. So there's a bearish 52 trade setup with the Trajan's triangle as a filter. Let's look at one more. So here's a bearish example of Amazon. X, A, B, C, D. I've put the triangle on here already so you can see, you're really looking for the proximity between the tips of these shapes. You got the quad and the triangle here. Let's turn off this triangle, delete that, and we'll draw it with our tool here. Go from X to B, like that. Once again, looking for the proximity between the two. This is lining up with the 38 versus the 52, so it's confirming this angle here. This is the exact time and price point of the triangle compared to the quad. So that's how you draw the Trajan's triangle. And we did it manually. We did it with an automatic tool. So let's just summarize what we've covered off here. So the first thing that we want to do is identify the XB angle. Remember, that's an important line because it has two data points of support. In the bullish example, it can be viewed as a trend line. That important line of support helps us identify other lines of support, which leads us to our next step. First of all, identify the XB, then calculate 50% of that angle. Remember, when you draw the trend line, make sure your settings show the angle in degrees. And of course, always remember that we've got our chart all locked up first before we start doing this, because as you add and subtract bars, all these angles change. So that's why it's important to lock up the price and the time first. Once we've determined 50% of XB, that gives us our XD line. Draw the line, see if the XD line confirms one of the angles of the emblem. For an example, if you're looking at a bullish 52, does the XD land closer to 52 versus 38 or some other angle on the emblem? If it confirms your core trade setup, draw the BD angle. Remember, you start at B, and in the bullish example, we're going to take 360 and subtract that 50% angle from 360, and that will give you the degrees for the bullish trade setup. And then if you have the Jenkins module, you can use that. If you don't feel like doing this manually, feel free to do that. Just turn off everything and use the percentages, 50% that I outlined in that example there. After we've drawn the BD angle, look for the intersection between XD and BD, and that's the tip of the Trajan's triangle. see how close that is to the tip of the quad. Is that within tolerance? And if it is within tolerance of your core trade setup, then you're going to go ahead and take the trade, as this is just a filter for your core trade setup. Now in the next session, we're going to discuss a topic that was near and dear to the heart of H.M. Gartley. An important market dimension is often ignored by the technical community. In the next session, we're going to discuss the use of volume.